All right, all right, all right. Big episode here. I got AJ Vaynerchuk from VaynerSports. He's also the co-founder of VaynerMedia, CEO of Vayner Football, NFL agent. So this guy, he's a whole package. I mean, I don't want to, say too much about him, but AJ, thank you so much for coming on. This is really cool having you on here. So, how you
Yeah,
doing?
no, I'm doing well, Nico. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. And so, first question I have for you, because I know you and your brother, you guys, like to kickstart a lot of stuff, and you guys are, you like to start from the bottom. I mean, and you guys like to build. So I want to know kind of what was the origins of VaynerSports and that process that you and Gary, kind of went through, and just
Yeah,
those first steps when you began it.
yeah. VaynerSports was an interesting startup in the sense that it came after my first venture in the world of business. So, graduated college, and Gary and I started VaynerMedia, which is now VaynerX. And we started that. I was fresh out of school. Gary's 11 years older than I am, so I had somebody, as an older brother, as a mentor, as a business partner, as the CEO of that company to show me the way. Did that for the first 7 years of my career, but decided to walk away and wanted to take some time off. I was always somebody that kind of knew what was next. I knew where I was going to school early. I knew we were going to do VaynerMedia before I had even graduated college. And so it was important for me for kind of act two of my career to give myself a little bit of time. But shortly before I left VaynerX, we had made an investment in Brian, our business partner's boutique agency. And so we made a small investment in what was called Symmetry at the time. And, you know, passive investor, small investment, but, of course, was always interested in the world, the intersection of business and sports. And so when I left VaynerX, my original plan was to take a year off. And I did a really good job for like the first 2 months. I really unplugged. It was amazing. Um, I look back at it, like the time my wife and I had together is some of the best moments of my life.
Right.
But even like month three, I started kind of poking around, looking at the investments that were in my portfolio. And I found that I spent the most on Brian's business. And it didn't really add up because financially it didn't correlate. I had much bigger upside in some of my tech investments in my portfolio, but I kept gravitating to Brian's athlete rep business. And so that kind of told me all I needed to know about what I wanted to do next. I cut my sabbatical short and only took 4 months off, and then jumped in and Gary and I bought a majority of Brian's business. We rebranded it to VaynerSports, and the three of us got it rolling from there.
Okay. And did you have to get some sort of like a law degree? Because I know that the NFL kind of requires certain things for their agents and
Yeah.
the players union.
So the vast majority of agents are lawyers or have legal degrees. The technical rule, I believe, is that you need a secondary degree. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a law degree, but you need something beyond a bachelor's degree.
Right.
But there's a very small percentage of agents, and I fall under this category, that are able to get certified through an alternative method. And that's basically submitting a petition to the NFLPA, highlighting that you believe that your business background, you have a background in high leverage negotiations and things of that nature. And so I put together a petition. I had to write up a few pages highlighting why I thought I was qualified to be an NFL agent. I needed to have references. And thankfully, the NFLPA agreed with my perspective and allowed me to. That's step one. And then step two is you actually have to pass the test.
Right.
I went ahead and passed the test as well.
Okay. Awesome. And now I know you guys are big on marketing and the social media side of things, and even off the field stuff, just in general. And so, leading into my next question is, what separates VaynerSports from other agencies? Is it that, like, how you guys kind of focus on other stuff besides just purely on the field stuff and the
Yeah,
contract?
I think so. I think that I have a lot of respect for a lot of the agents and agencies in our business, but I think when you look at the parameters in which we have to work within, the football side can become a bit commoditized. I think there are plenty of agents and agencies that can do a really nice job in helping a player on the field. And we are one of those agencies. I feel really confident in our ability and the team that we have around us to help any young player succeed in football and other sports, right? We've had an aggressive expansion, right? So I've been spending a lot of time talking about football because that was the first 90% of VaynerSports' existence, but we've since
Yeah.
branched into gaming, um, baseball, and now MMA. And so whether it's on the football field, on the baseball diamond, on the console, or in the octagon, I think what really differentiates us is just everything else. And marketing and social media is kind of step 1 and 2, but then I think you get into things like our business acumen, our investment track record. I know there's a few of our athletes that gravitate to the fact that Gary and I in particular made some really good early stage
Yep.
investments with money.
Yeah.
Not that we provide financial services, but just being individuals that understand the way the world moves and have a network. That's another big piece of it. It's just our sheer network. And I guess the last piece too is, there are other organizations that have comparable networks, but I think when you blend in our actual willingness to do the work and how much we actually care, that ends up separating us.
Right. And you just mentioned the gaming and baseball, and then the fighting sports,
Yep.
whether it's MMA, UFC. What made you guys branch out into those three
Yeah.
specifically?
So along the way, I would constantly get, and it was very flattering, I would constantly get outreach of, hey, you know, let's open up a new sport. And for me, we were very cognizant of, it's not the sport that matters, it's the opportunity that matters. So I always, in order for us to get into another sport, I need one of two things to get me comfortable to do that. One, either a player that sits in the agent role, and that's what we had for both baseball with Greg Gansky and MMA with Lloyd Pearson, or a marquee client, and that's what we have with Bugga in gaming. So, for
Right.
example, in basketball, I love basketball, golf, I love golf. I would love to get into those two sports, but we're not going to go into either of those sports unless you're giving me I either want Steph or Harden or Durant or Rory or
Yeah.
DJ or Brooks, right, on the player
Yeah.
side, or I want an absolute male or female agent in that industry that brings the ability for us to go get those types of players.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So last question I have is, what are your thoughts on players' post-career opportunities? And do you believe that most players in the sports that you're involved in are maximizing themselves post-career, whether it's, announcing or
Yeah.
doing any other things that they would want to do?
I would say most players are not. But the good news is, I think that the players are heading in the right direction. I think that they have the desire. I think they've had the realization that they need to. I think they've learned from their predecessors. And so I think at the very least, there's this energy in the atmosphere that is pushing players to think more and more about it. And for us, we hope to be a major pivotal aspect of that improvement, right? And my mindset is, I'm proud of the work that we've done with some of, we're a young agency, so we only have so many clients that are in the post-career world.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of the work that we've done with them, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing with our existing clients, getting them ready for post-career. And I think the more that we set the pace and the more we're successful helping our athletes in that capacity, the more our competitors are going to also have to ramp up those efforts, and thus it'll trickle down and help athletes as a whole be more prepared for post-career.
Right. And do you think it's like hard when somebody's playing and they're so hyper focused in their training and their sport for them to kind of see like 5 or 10 years down the road? Like, do you find that, or do you find your clients are more, open minded?
No, I think it's definitely hard, but I think there's ways to pick and choose. The off season is a wonderful time to tackle that.
Yeah.
Some guys have the capacity to do it during the season. Some guys don't. I respect that. Another one is anytime a professional athlete has a season-ending injury, that's a devastating item. But there's also a way to use it as a blessing in disguise and to dedicate. Yes, you have to rehab, and yes, you have to get back and ready to play, but you can't rehab 24 hours a day. And so there's all this time that you would have spent traveling on planes for road games and all this different stuff, right? That you can now refocus onto something that maybe leads to a post-career opportunity. So again, injuries are terrible. I never want them to happen, but what we try to do is take that injury as a positive for another side of the house.
Right. Right. Well, that's all I got for you, AJ. You've been super generous with your time. I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon, but thank you very
Absolutely.
much for coming on.
Yeah, man. Nico, I appreciate it. Some really good questions. I'm glad we got to jam. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Thanks, AJ.
Take it easy.